Ladies and gentlemen, oh, that came in hot, huh? That was a little hot, I'll be honest. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tayler Yarish Show, episode 31, I believe. Not sure. This still sounds a little bit weird in the phones, I'll be honest. Well, if it sounds weird, no one will let me know anyway. Okay. Yeah. It's Sunday. I've looked better. Let's just start there, huh? I've looked better. Like you ever have somebody like compliment you on a beard and it was not a choice, and you realize you just didn't realize how much time has passed, or you haven't done any self-maintenance whatsoever. It's really terrifying to think about what people would look like if we just let it all go. You know what I mean? If we just stopped all the plucking and the shaving and the primping and the waxing and the tanning, if we just let it all go, I mean, we're all just ugly fucks. I mean, what the hell? I mean, this, like, my beard right now is maybe a week or so. I can't imagine, like, I went and got a coffee this morning at Panera, and there's a homeless guy who sleeps right outside the Panera. He's there every day, and like I look like him. He's got a little bit nicer of a head of hair than me, which bothers me so much. Can't even explain how much that bothers me when homeless dudes have beautiful heads of hair and just not doing anything with it. Pretty sure I've talked about how that pisses me off, but anyway. Yeah, we look pretty similar. He's got a little bit more gray in his beard, but it's not a bad beard. Like, he's got a nice, full, like, thick, manly beard. Just the rest of him, he's got a shine to him, You know that homeless man reflection that they give off? Where you're like, oh, you've been cooking in the sun for a little bit. I feel like that's what I look like right now. I wiped my face down with like one of those oil things just to spare anyone who chooses to watch the video or the clips, just because and I have to record with no AC on, so it's hot as balls in here. I got a large shirt on, and it's all just kind of puffing and fermenting, and I need a fucking shower. So just to give you the 3D, 4D element of this podcast, I don't feel great. Like, physically, my health-wise, I feel fine. But you know when you feel like you just have a layer of film, that funk. I think I went to bed with Subway funk on me, and I just got up and went about life. I haven't showered yet. And, when you're just down there, that's why I like the scooter, because, like, the summer Subway, sitting down there's no circulation. It's legitimately not safe. I mean, it gets so fucking hot down there. You're just soaked. I was sweating my ass off yesterday. I was coming back from New Jersey because Kate got surprised as a bridesmaid. Like, there was a surprise for her, like, hey, you're my bridesmaid, which I feel like the people who end up being bridesmaids, you're going to be a fucking bridesmaid. You don't need to do a surprise party. It's a little over the top, just saying. So anyway, that happened. I came back. I had to go to this hotel where I left bags, and I had to pick up bags to then bring home. So I'm like going in and out of the subway. I got like, just fucking 50, 60, 70 pounds of just bags I'm carrying. And then the train stops. It like all of a sudden decides to go express. So I get off, and the guy's like, yeah, this is the third train that it's fucking happened to. So I know, I'm like, I have a set later, so I have to go, and I can't be late. So I got to catch an Uber, and then the Uber guy he connects to my Uber app, and then he goes a little bit too far. So then the directions tell him he's got to go around the globe in order to get to me, which adds fucking 20 minutes. So I'm like, hey, just stay where you are. I'll come to you, so you don't have to go all the way around. So then I'm literally running with luggage, just pouring sweat in the sun, and And then he wasn't in the place that he like looped the block, so I had to go up an avenue. It was fucking just hell. And then to come home, and this is the first time I've been home in like a week at least, and it's just like thick in the apartment. It's the worst feeling. And then I had the worst feeling. I came into my home for the first time in a week, had to drop my bags and then immediately leave and go back out. I mean, just drenched in sweat. And why wouldn't you want to live here? You know what I mean? Doesn't that just sound like the perfect place to live? But, that's the trade-off. That's the trade-off that you get. Oh, yeah, really don't look good. But you know what? I look better than most of the people walking the street right now. I'll be honest. Some of these people, I swear to God, some of the people walking the street legitimately have no shape. They have no consistent shape to their body. I mean, they look like a duffel bag full of clothes that was squeezed shut with duct tape. They're wearing clothes that are way too small for them. I know it's a sports bra shirt thing. I know that's what it is. Get another size because it's pouring over the top, okay? The ice cream float is spilling down your hand, all right? It's a little much. I don't mean to fat shame anyone, but some of you need to be shamed. Why is that such a problem? I don't know. I guess it doesn't work for everybody. Shame works for me. I need to catch myself in the mirror walking into the shower and be like, I hate this is enough. We really got to turn this around. You know what I mean? But maybe that's not how everybody works. Maybe shame doesn't work for, I'm not saying that's not how you're going to stick with it, but shame can be a good start off point. You know what I mean? And shame doesn't have to come from like a place of, self-hatred or hatred. I want my friends to shame me. I think that lets me know that you're my friend. If I know some shit's up and if you're not pointing it out, I don't trust you. I trust you less. Fat shaming's bad, yada, yada, yada. I don't think it is. I'll be honest. That's just my position on that, and you don't have to agree. But I think, is there a difference between just making fun of someone who's fat and fat shaming? Is there a legitimate? I think that, like, when people say fat shaming, I think you're just making fun of fat people. But I think pointing out that somebody is fat is not fat shaming. You're literally just stating the fact, like you're grossly overweight. I think if it's coming from a place of concern, like, hey, I'm concerned about your health, buddy of mine visited me from Chicago, like 2 days ago. I haven't seen him in like 2 years. We got on the subway, we sat down. I was like, dude, what's going on? I mean, look at you. What happened? I mean, this is a lot. I think you need to go and play a game of basketball or something, because I want you, I want you around. And I'm like, dude, you're legitimately getting, I don't know, what are you, 500, 600 pounds now? He's not, but that's what I need to say so that he knows. Because he knows. He knows. I think if I'm going to be the one to tell you, like, dude, this is a lot. I mean, you're making me feel better about my weight gain because, I gained a little bit around the middle, but I mean, it looked like somebody zoomed in, like, you know what I mean? There's just more of you in frame. And that's okay. And sometimes you need to fucking hear that, because you know what? Then we go and we got something to eat, and he's like, maybe I'll get something without gluten. He didn't. He got a burger. But the point is, he had the thought. He thought about it. He's like, yeah, I got a gluten sensitivity now. I was like, oh, have you always had that? He's like, well, diarrhea was such a staple part of my experience that, who the fuck is texting me? Jesus Christ. Oh boy. Well, this is not good. Family member just texted me, hey, finally checking out the podcast. Oh, that's great. Family, Skip it, huh? Skip it. It's not for you. I don't want to say something and then come to Thanksgiving and then that's what the dinner table conversation is about. I'm sure it won't be. But you know, you don't need to check it out. You know me. You know. Anyway, we went to Lake George recently. This past week. I don't know what fucking day it is. We went to Lake George this past week, and we went out on the boat, and we did a lot of fun stuff. We were staying in a house. With 11 people. That's a lot of people. A lot can go wrong. It probably will go wrong. Going on a trip with 11 people, that's real tough because, number one, you're probably not all going to like each other. There's probably going to be a fight at some point. You're staying for 4 or 5 days. Someone's going to, not like the way that the person made the coffee, or they're going to be like, hey, you didn't fucking do dishes. And it's just going to be toxic. Luckily, that didn't happen. But it could. There's so much risk when you're staying with so many people in a house. Another thing that could happen is, most likely, if you're staying with 11 people, one of those people at least is not going to be able to tell a good story. This is just the way it is. I think it's a rare thing to be a good storyteller. So there's going to be one person who cannot tell a story, and it's always the person who can't tell stories who has the most stories. They have the most stories. They always have to chime in at the end of somebody else. They always have a similar thing that happened, Anyway, I'm not saying that was definitely not my group of people. Definitely didn't happen. But, it's just a thing. It's not a knock on anybody. I just get annoyed with people's existence after a while. I mean, that's like living with somebody is such a big deal because you learn so much about people and or like the person that you're staying with. And and it's normal shit. Everybody knows people get on each other's nerves from time to time, but miraculously it didn't really happen. Everybody got along. Everybody fucking took a turn cooking and cleaning, and I was like, are we doing this? Should we just all live together forever? Obviously, you can't make that happen because, yeah, you would tear each other's fucking heads off. But we hit the sweet spot. I'll tell you what, it was a good trip. We took the boat out on a lake, Lake George. We went to Lake George. We went to a different lake, though. Fuck Lake George. We're nonconformists. We lucked out with the weather, and we went to this cove. We took the boat. There was this little inlet cove where you could go cliff diving, not diving. Don't dive. Cliff jumping, and it was high up. I'm not a guy who can look at a thing and be like, oh, that's 50. That's a 50-foot, or that's a 75-foot. I don't know, but it felt high as shit. You had to swim over. It was one of those old school things where it's just a rope tied to a tree. That's how you get up the cliff, and somebody put it there in 1974 or whatever. And you don't do that often. It felt good. And our group got there when there was this group of kids. It was a group of 15 kids at least, young, middle school probably. And when I tell you, these were the most fearless motherfuckers that I've ever seen. There were 3 levels to the cliff. There was a small level, there was a medium level, and then there was the high as shit, holy hell, are you serious level. I didn't go to that level. I only went to the medium level, and that was high enough because you jump off and you have enough time to exhale, inhale, and exhale again. That's terrifying. It just takes your breath away. And these little kids were just, full send. Is that a phrase? Full send over the cliff. Just yeet, and just fucking off the highest one. There was this one girl who just full alpha energy, just when there was a little kid, there was a boy who was afraid to go, and she was just out of my fucking way, and just no hesitation jumped off and in the air for, I don't know, 2 seconds, 2.5. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot. And then just a huge impact on the water. And I felt myself on being like, am I scared? Like, what's going on? I'm not scared. I could jump off a large cliff. But then I realized these kids have no fucking responsibility. There's nothing to their name. If they die, nothing happens. It affects no one. Yes, their parents are sad, their family's sad, but like nothing will happen. There's no debt collector that's going to come and pass the debt on to their family. I mean, that's literally, they literally should have just been yelling that as they jump off the cliff. Just, I have no bills. I don't have student loans. Just like all these things that, why would you care? What in life has shown you that you cannot do anything? That you can, yeah, I can jump off a cliff and have nothing happen. You've never experienced anything where you're like, let's fucking do this. And then something terribly, you've never had to second guess yourself. And that's the joy about being a little kid, you know? That's when, like, when people talk about, like, oh, my inner child. Oh, my God, I just think I have such an inner child. No, you don't, Rebecca, okay? Show me your skin knees. Show me the grass on your jeans. You don't got shit. These little kids were just fearless. And they have that, like, young, like, chaotic energy where they don't, like, totally know how to behave socially. Just immature, you know, just naturally immature. And there was this girl, her name was Brooke. We got to know her name. There was this girl who the entire time that we were there, she was maybe going to jump off the middle one. Now, she was she was a young girl, but like there were people even younger than her, smaller than her, that were just jumping off, no hesitation. She was scared. And when I tell you, I witnessed the worst case of just peer pressure and bullying I've ever seen in a while. It's been like probably since I was in school, because I just, I'm not around fucking kids all the time. Pretty much ever. I'll say that for the record. But yeah, so like she's like looking over the cliff and then like not going for it and then looking over the cliff, and everyone's just like, Brooke, 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 just yelling her name. And they may as well have just been saying drink. You know what I mean? Like that's where that leads. When you're chanting her name to jump off because it didn't seem like encouraging at first. It was just, it had like that drink energy, and that's how it fucking starts. And you could see the thoughts spinning in her mind. And once you do that, you've already experienced like the fear of jumping off. Like once you jump, it's gone. Like the real fear is just you going over it in your head. That's the worst part of the whole jump. And you are just, it's like you're experiencing the jump over and over again in your mind, but you don't actually get the payoff and the credit for fucking doing it. So she's just in this like fear cycle over and over again, looking over, and then like the chants would grow louder and louder. It would go to this big crescendo, and then she'd back off, and everyone would be like, oh, boo. Like she legitimately got boos. It's a little like 11-year-old girl, and these kids are just booing her. I mean, This is why we have fucking, emo kids in high schools, because something like this happened to them, and then they just retreat, and then they worship Satan. That might be a stretch, but you know what I'm saying. That's how it happens. And then there was this like adult who was on the lower level, there's like this big woman with like a life vest on, and she's like, maybe if you just let her be, she'll go on her own time. And these little kids are like, boo. Screw you. You can't be the authority on people jumping off the cliff when you're on the lowest level and you have a life vest on, and these youngsters are leaping off the top. You can't, you know what I mean? Don't it's not your turn to chime in. Let these kids figure it out. What was that book? Fucking God damn it. The book with the children, and they're on an island, and Lord of the Flies, that's what it was. Lord of the Flies, that's what this was like. The Lord of the kids on this cliff, just figuring it the fuck out. And she went for it like 5 times and never took the leap. She never ended up taking the leap. and the disappointment. I mean, and these kids were all in the same boat, and I can't imagine the roasting that occurred the rest of the trip. I feel bad for her. And we didn't help. Like, we were on the other side of the cliff watching this all happen, and we like encouraging her, you know, you can do it. You can do it. I mean, I really just wanted to see her jump. But then the rest of the trip for us, anytime somebody wouldn't do something, we called them a Brooke. And you know what? This is how trauma is made, you know? Like, oh, you don't want to go in the water? Oh, quit being a Brooke. Quit being a Brooke. I'm going to use that now. I'm going to come, you know, like in New York, I'm going to call people a Brooke and give them no context whatsoever. You're being a fucking Brooke, bro. Dude, quit being a Brooke. Karen's over. It's Brooke is in. Don't be a Brooke. You know? But it was a good day. It was a good day. It was almost a perfect day until we were driving back on the boat and we're flying. You know, we're like trying to make it back. We're going pretty fast. Kate's sitting on the back of the boat. She's got a ball cap on. Just no go. It's not a good idea. I told her at the beginning of the trip, I said, watch, that's gonna fly off. And she was like, don't tell me, you know. So the hat, of course, we're cooking. Hat flies off. And she was like, oh, I guess that's what happens to that hat. I lose the hat. And somebody was like, oh, your hat, we got to turn around. So we're turning the boat around. And I could see the hat floating in the lake. And I get that like hero moment that creeps up. You know what I mean? You get that, you're like, oh, I can fucking save the day. You know? It's not shallow here. No one else like wants to jump in. I know that they were going to do that thing where they try to like circle the boat around the hat. And then somebody tries to like grab it. I was like, fuck that. I'm just going to jump in. Why not? You know? I'm going to jump in and I'm going to save the fucking day. So we get closer to the hat, still floating there. I just jump on in. I jumped on it pretty much. I jumped on the hat. I grabbed it. I'm like, fuck yeah. I'm feeling so good. You know, everyone's like, yeah, all right, fucking grab, you know, the biggest hero moment that you could have. And then what I did was, instead of just swimming back to the boat with the hat, I was like, I'll throw the hat on board and then I'll climb up on board, you know? Like, here, take this. So I went a little bit too hard on the toss, right? Went a little bit too hard. The hat clears the boat, lands in the other side of the water, and then immediately death spirals to the bottom of the lake. I had the hat in my hand, threw it over, lost the hat. I mean, when I tell you that the shift in mood was palpable, they were like, yeah, oh, nah, fuck. Jesus. I felt bad. I was ashamed. I blew it. I fucking blew it. Did anyone else really care besides me? No. Am I going to think about that for, 2-3 years? Yeah, probably. Hey, you can just get another hat. You can, but this hat, it was like an older hat, it was kind of dirty, it was weathered. You can't buy that unless you just buy somebody's fucking old, gross, used hat, which I'm not, not going to do that. God damn it. I lost the fucking hat. That is not how the hero journey is supposed to end. That's not how that happens. They go in, they save the day, and then the day ends. It's the end of the day. There's no moment in Spider-Man where old woman's purse gets stolen, and then Spider-Man swoops in, chases the guy down, gets the hat back, and then on his way back, when he's swinging back to the old lady to return it, he comes in a little bit too hot, lands on the old woman, impales her, and kills her on impact. There's no scene where that happens, where it starts off bad, he comes in and saves it, and then he fucks it up even more. And that's what I did. That's what I did with this fucking hat. And then, you know what? That became a running gag for the rest of the week. Anytime, you lose something, so anytime you could relate it to me losing that fucking hat, that's what happened. And that's my karma for calling people a Brooke, you know? We both fucked up. Brooke and I both fucked up. She didn't jump, and I blew the moment. You only get so many of those fucking moments where you're like, I'm going to save it's going to be me. I'm doing it. And then I just fucked it up. God damn it. But other than that, it was a good, it was a good time. Last night of the trip, we did roast marshmallows. Now, if you listen, you know my feelings on marshmallows, and I was outnumbered. I was outnumbered by these savages who just shove their marshmallow in the fire. Is it me? Is it me? Am I in the minority here on these marshmallows? Because it seems like everybody's just fucking shoving it in the fire. I feel like in the past, before, it was a roast. You're roasting marshmallows. It should be a process. Like you're sitting, roasting it over the fire until it is properly cooked at the temperature. That's what you do with anything that you roast. If you're cooking meat over the fire, if you're cooking a fish over the fire, you don't shove it into the center of the fire. You roast it. You know what I mean? There's no food where you shove it directly. If you want, I'm saying if you're going for like internal temperature, maybe if you're going for like a char, which I guess that's what you're doing with the marshmallows. You're going for a char, but it's not, you can't char the fucking gelatinous sugar like that because it just turns into cancer or whatever. I don't know if that's true. Is that true? I feel like I've said that for a while. I have no idea if it's true. Are black marshmallows bad for you? Huh. Okay, so this website, the first one, 50campfires.com, seems reputable. Good news, folks. There are no amino acids or creatine in your delicious marshmallows. All they are is a big ball of puffed sugar and gelatin. If you're one of those weirdos that likes to burn your marshmallows, you can crawl into your sleeping bag with a smile knowing that you're completely safe. Now seeing that, I have to now then go to the next article and find something that supports my argument, because that's how you win, Can you get cancer from eating burnt marshmallows? A chemical found in burned, charred, and toasted foods had been linked to cancer. Here's how worried you should be. The chemical acrylamide is found in fried, baked, and roasted foods like coffee and fruit. That's a little bit too much for me. I don't know. The mystery shall never be solved. But the point is, you're still fucking weird. So yeah, I mean, I was gone all fucking week, and just got away a little bit. I almost couldn't make the trip, so I'm glad I did. You got to get out and do real shit, every once in a while, especially in the city where, like, I feel like the moment I got back, I have no time, and I have to, like, schedule in my calendar to call my mother, It's really upsetting. It's really upsetting. My mom's like, oh, you got to call your grandmother. I'm like, I can barely I forget to call you. You know what I mean? Like, calling relatives, it's just, to have the free time to just sit down and call somebody up. I wish I had that. Or I wish maybe I just don't think of it. Am I a fucking bad person? My whole family's on a trip right now, and I'm not there because I have to work, and I can't make it, and I do feel bad that I can't make it, but maybe we'll do a FaceTime. Dude, a family FaceTime? Oh, is there anything more brutal? Just fucking 14 people trying to talk over each other and, be the speaker in view or whatever it is. And then there's one person from the back who, like, shouts a question, and then you heard their question, but nobody else caught up on it. And then you just see their face kind of slowly retreat back into just listening mode because they don't try again. It's the worst. It's really a shitty medium, unless it's like one-on-one and you're just talking, all right? Zoom is meant for just, like, catching up, talking, maybe having a meeting. It's not meant for comedy. It's not meant for fucking Shakespeare, all right? Get back out there. Anyway, that's the podcast this week. Hope you're staying cool. It's like 130 in Death Valley right now, so I hope you're not there. It's pretty shitty here. I have no AC on at the moment. I'm feeling sticky and thick. But yeah, we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening as always. Peace out.